Hi, everybody. It is Lloyd Malech with Ask Lloyd. Today, I have as a guest Dr. Julie Bindeman. She is a psychologist and the founder and co-director of Integrative Therapy of Greater Washington. She's a local girl from GW graduate school, and as an alumni of GW, go Colonials. And without further ado, Julie, good to talk to you. How are you today?
I'm fine. Nice to see you, Lloyd.
Yes, and I'd like to talk to you and give some information to our guests today about how trauma and life stressors, certain mental health challenges, affect a marriage generally, and we can go into some other details. Uh,
Well, I think mental health could be considered a crisis depending upon what it might look like. It's if people are not going into a marriage knowing of pre-existing kinds of mental health issues, then finding it out during or even years after the beginning of a marriage can feel like a crisis. It can feel like one partner didn't sign up for this. It can feel like the other partner is really needy of the person that is not struggling with mental health. And it can provide a wedge, it can provide a separation between the two. It can also be something that might join couples together more, that they're in something together. And it, again, this depends upon what the challenge might be. So, for example, I do a lot of work around pregnancy losses, and that is a place where people tend to come together. And
mhm.
then inevitably, as a couple, they'll have different kinds of grief reactions as time passes. But the initial thing is it brings a couple together.
And as far as throughout the course of the marriage, um, is it possible, or typically do you see people develop mental health issues or perhaps addiction? And we could even count addiction as a mental health disorder as well. Do those just develop spontaneously, or how do you see that occur?
Again, it really depends on the circumstances. So sometimes it is the result of something that happens in life. Again, some sort of experienced crisis. It might be the loss of someone that a partner was really close to, and then trying to figure out how to move on. So grief is not a mental health issue, but depression can come from grief. It
Mhm.
does not always, but I just think that's an important distinction to make. So that might be an example of something emerged. We also know that young adulthood, so late teens, early 20s, is where some people have their first mental health episode of um, what issue might be. So we see that a lot with people who develop schizophrenia, that first kind of experience with it tends to be late teens, early 20s. So if you get married early, then that could absolutely be something that just comes on. Yeah.
And and some of the things that I see in some of the high conflict divorces are typically either some type of addiction, self-medication, or some type of developmental, perhaps like a bipolar late in life or late or in life diagnosis, these types of things. And I guess they would not necessarily in be there. It wouldn't. I mean, I don't know. Are there usually are there or are there not usually telltale signs if this is a possibility early in the marriage?
I think it's really hard unless you know about family history and unless as you're living with someone you start to see some odd or non-typical behavior. So sleep is either needed less or needed much more.
Mhm.
Um, Diet is changing, energy levels are changing. Those would be kind of early warning signs. With substance abuse, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes it is a response to either a crisis or trauma. I'm particularly worried about people who have substance abuse in their direct family. So maybe a sibling, certainly a parent, a grandparent, even, um, because particularly if they have a grandparent, likely the parent isn't talking about it or is talking about it so much. But we know that um, alcoholism kind of skips a generation because that person who had seen their parent be an alcoholic had a firsthand experience of it and doesn't want to replicate that, whereas their child does not have that same experience. And so they don't know the possible ramifications outside of what you might do to your body and your relationships and your ability to work. But there can be a lot of different kinds of consequences for that.
And how does, say, addiction or alcoholism impact the marriage?
Um, it's interesting because I think sometimes it really impacts the marriage when some third party comes in. So that might be like a DUI that the person gets. And so then that becomes, if it was something that had been secret, then that becomes a way of, okay, this is out in the open. Um, so that could be it. It could be too, just this person is smelling of alcohol, or you can see that their pupils are really dilated and they shouldn't be. You again, bizarre behavior, changes in sleep, changes in diet. Secretive behavior is something too we see a lot of substance abusers and alcoholics. Um, for those that might be abusing drugs, whether they're prescription or not. You might see some changes in the bank account because oftentimes you're going to need cash for this. It's not going on your credit card.
That's probably a good idea if you were to partake and wanted to hide it from your spouse, certainly.
Yeah.
And from a psychological perspective, someone who is, I guess, our family, not a person, but a family who's experiencing these types of challenges, say through one part of the family being addicted, how does that affect the divorces? How have you seen if clients of yours come through? How is that an issue?
Where it tends to become an issue, and I worked with a couple clients around this very kind of thing. Um, it becomes an issue when, again, it's starting to impact finances.
Mhm.
Um, so I think about one of my clients who separated from her husband. She had older kids, but separated from her husband. And all of her kids had witnessed was fighting for years and years and years. So that's what her kids knew. They didn't know their dad was an alcoholic in the same way that my client knew. And one of the things that was hardest was to be able to differentiate what her relationship is and was with her ex, and that her children have very different relationships with him. And it's not her job to badmouth him. They will experience it for themselves in terms of, oh, maybe we now understand a little more about the context of these fights rather than we just hearing the yelling as we were when we were younger.
Yeah, that's something
So,
that's, I definitely want to comment just as far as, piggybacking on what you said, as far as sharing your experiences with with your children, even if they're adult children, especially if they're minor children, but either way, you got to let those separate, let
yeah,
separate relationships
yeah,
go on their own courses,
yeah,
without trying to affect it, because quite frankly, it doesn't turn out well, and it usually backfires on the person who is making these, let's say, negative comments.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, and it doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't serve either to try to get extended family or people from the other person's family to like side with you. I think that too is when people are speaking negative of the other, they want their kids to kind of side with them,
yeah,
to have that loyalty to one parent and not the other. And actually, that's considered to be manipulation. So just something to think about as well. But my mantra in those cases to my clients is you have a relationship with this person, your older son has a relationship with this person, and your younger daughter has a relationship with this person. Those are three different relationships. and you have nothing to do with theirs. And if they want to talk to you about it, they need to be the ones bringing it up, and your job is to listen.
Well, that is very helpful, and I hope some of the information that we shared today will help somebody out there listening to us. And Julie, is if you'd like, you could I'd like to give you a plug if you want to put say your website, and if you're taking new cases, I'd be happy to make referrals if somebody could use your services.
Oh, absolutely. So our website is greaterwashingtontherapy.com. It's going to get an overhaul pretty soon, but we're not quite there yet. Um, And yes, I have a team. They're a wonderful team. A lot of us have a specialty in reproductive kinds of issues, whether it is struggling to get pregnant, trying to decide if pregnancy even is something you want to do, um, issues that might happen in pregnancy, whether that might be a loss, whether that might be a mental health issue that develops, whether you experience postpartum trauma or birth trauma, and just that postpartum adjustment, as well as perimenopause. So, just really over the whole reproductive spectrum. We also have people that just see kids, and we have people that do psychoeducational testing. And just other kinds of issues too. So we have people, we have openings, and we're always happy to help. We are considered to be out of network.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I like to do at Malech Law is to be able to help my clients holistically and, direct them to experts where they'll be best served. So I want to thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you,
Great. Take
everybody.
care.